thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Hold your applause till the end, please. Today, we're going to talk about the moon. It's that beautiful thing up in the sky that you see every night, and you wonder, what does it do? What is its purpose? Why does it always look different? And we're going to talk about that. So, the first thing I want to do is get some terms out there that are associated with learning about the moon. And we're going to do these in order, and then we're going to break them down term by term and what they actually mean. You will have to know these all for your quiz that's coming up, so make sure you're paying attention. First term is new moon. New moon is the term and the phase of the moon that starts the celestial calendar. The next term we have is waxing crescent. After that, we have a first quarter. Then we have a waxing gibbous, and then we have the full moon. So, these are the key terms that we need to know for when the moon is getting bigger in the sky. Now, does it actually physically get bigger? No. The part that we see is the percentage of the moon that is being hit by the sun, which causes it to lighten up in the sky. Because the moon does not produce its own light. The only object in our solar system that produces its own light is the sun. So, we look up and we see the moon, the half of it that is lit by the sun, the other half is always in darkness. So, when I have a new moon, I don't see the moon at all. In fact, I really can't see it since we live in the metropolitan. We can't see it at all. So, the part that is lit up by the sun is facing away from the earth. So we see 0% of the moon. It's completely dark. I cannot see it. The waxing crescent is the next phase. And that is when I see a piece cut out on the right side. And it looks like a little sliver. And a way to remember crescent being less than half of the moon being visible is think about like a crescent roll. If you've never had a crescent roll, go to Panera Bread, order a crescent or a croissant, and then you will see it. So that is when I see less than 50% of the moon from the Earth. And all of these observations are made only from the Earth's surface. Because if I was on another planet, the moon would be lit up in a different way and I wouldn't see it in the same way as I do on Earth. The first quarter is I can see exactly half. Exactly 50%. And it's like a line is cut right down the middle. And I only can see the right side. So this part is lit up. I see 50% of it in the sky. Now, does that mean that I see the full 50% of the moon that's lit up by the sun? No. You only see 25% of it because the other side of this half is also lit up. But we can't see that because we're standing on Earth and the other side that is lit up is facing away from us. Waxing gibbous. Is when I can see more than 50% of the moon on the right side. So, as you can see, we're talking about the right side, and the right side. because the moon, it appears that it's getting bigger, that we can see more of it here on Earth. So I see the term waxing and waxing. Anytime that you see waxing on a quiz or on a website like Moon Giant, waxing means that the amount of light that I can see bouncing off of the moon is going to get bigger over time. The next one is our full moon. And that's when I can see the entire half of the moon is lit up by the sun, standing on Earth. It's also when kids act crazy, is full moons. I'm not sure why, but it's funny because the term lunar, moon, actually the name comes from the root word lunatic, which is when people would act more crazy. So, as I go, I start off with a new moon. I can't see it because we live in the metro and it's completely 100% dark. And honestly, you wouldn't be able to see it pretty much anywhere. The waxing crescent, which means I see less than 50% on the right side. The first quarter moon says I see exactly 50%. And the waxing gibbous, I see more than 50%. So the sliver of darkness is on the left, but I can still see a majority of the moon. And then full moon, I can see it all, and kids act crazier. The big thing is here, with all of these, the moon and the percentage that we see here on Earth is always getting bigger. So, new moon, waxing crescent, first quarter moon, waxing gibbous, and full moon. So when I look at these, when I think about the lunar cycle as a whole, in order to get from a new moon to a first quarter moon is about 7 days. So let's call this day 1 of the lunar cycle. First quarter, it takes 7 days to get there. We'll call that day 7. And to get to a full moon is going to be 14 days. And this is the first half of the lunar cycle. So again, when I talk about my lunar cycle, the new moon happens on day 1 of the full lunar cycle. The first quarter moon happens at day 7, and the full moon happens at day 14. Now your gaps between what happens between day 1 and day 7 is going to be all waxing crescents. So day 2 through 6 is going to be a waxing crescent, and it will slowly move over, slowly move over, slowly move over until we get to the first quarter. And the same thing applies going from day 7 to day 14, where it's going to be a waxing gibbous, where it's going to go from that midpoint to slowly stretching over until I get to a full moon. So now the next thing that you're probably going to say is, well, I saw the moon was a full moon last night, and then today it's starting to get darker. Is the moon getting darker? And the answer is no. So we'll start over again at the full moon. So we said that was at day 14. And the moon, as it appears in our sky, is going to get smaller, but really it's the same size moon. And I know, it sounds confusing, but it's really not. So, what's going to happen next is called a waning gibbous. And it's different than waxing, obviously, but it's a waning gibbous. Now we saw this term is when you could see over 50% of the moon when it was waxing. Well, the same thing's going to apply here, except for it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be backwards. Now, instead of it being dark on the left side, it's going to be dark on the right. So now, the moon looks like it's getting darker and darker and darker every time we see it. The next moon phase is going to be the third quarter. Now, much like the first quarter, it's when I can see 50%. But now I can only see the left side of the moon. So where first quarter I saw the right side, in third quarter I can only see the left side. Then I have a waning crescent, which means that I only see the left side still, but now I'm only seeing a sliver on the left. And I can see less than 50%, we'll get into that. And then it's going to return back to the new moon, which will then restart the lunar cycle all over again. So we said that the full moon previously was day 14, so we're going to keep that day 14. On the third quarter, it's going to be day 21 of the moon cycle. And for the new moon to go back to is going to be day 28. Now, easy way to remember that, especially for you athletes or people who like football, each major phase of the moon, whether it be full moon, third quarter, new moon, or first quarter, those are going to happen every 7 days. Just like in football, a touchdown and the point after is 7 points. Here, it's 7 days. So the full moon happened on day 14, which is the equivalent of 7 times 2, 14. And then third quarter is 21, so we're just adding 7. And new moon, 28, we're just adding 7. The math is very, very simple. And these are the main phases of the moon when the moon looks like it's getting smaller. Now again, you're going to see waning. So you know that whenever you see waning, that means that the amount of the moon that we are going to see is going to get smaller. And also, you're going to be able to see the left side of the moon only. So with the full moon, again, we will see 100% of the moon. With the waning gibbous, we will see more than 50%. With the third quarter, we will see exactly 50%. With the waning crescent, we will see less than 50%. And new moon, we will see 0%. Now I know what's going to happen is I'm going to have a kid that takes the quiz and comes back, sees a full moon and calls it a waning gibbous, and he'll say, well, you said more than 50%. Yes, it is indeed more than 50%, but not 100%. So this should be more of 50 to 98% visible. But if you see more than 50% of the left side, it is a waning gibbous. If you see less than 50% on the left side, it is a waning crescent. To review some key terms, some key patterns. Anytime you see the term waxing, that means the moon is getting bigger. Now, is it physically getting bigger? No. But what I see standing on the surface of the earth and looking up into the sky, whenever it is on the right side, whenever I can see the right side of the moon, and the moon is getting bigger, it is considered to be waxing. The other big term, waning, is that the moon is getting smaller. And then I can see the left side of the moon. Waxing, the moon is getting bigger in the sky and I can see the right side of it. Waning, moon is getting smaller and I can see the left side of it. A full lunar cycle is 28 days. These are the three really big takeaways from today. Lunar cycle is 28 days. Waning means that the moon is getting smaller and I can see just the left side of it. Waxing means that the moon is getting bigger and I can always see the right side of it. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you can take away something involving the phases of the moon and the process of the phases of the moon. If you have any questions, make sure you leave them in the comments below. Also, to my students, if you need help, my office hours are posted on your Google Classroom. And make sure you reach out to me so I can help you any way that I can. See ya!
For science!